On a damp spring morning in the Selva Maya reserve of Chiapas, Mexico, Lucia Mendoza woke to the trill of bird song and the earthy perfume of rain-wet soil. The daughter of Miguel Mendoza, a visionary conservationist, she lived a life most children could only imagine. While her peers learned to ride bikes or chase balls, Lucia's playground was a sea of emerald foliage, and her constant companions were creatures many knew only from documentaries. From her very first steps, she was enveloped by the hush and hum of the jungle, and it became as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. But nothing was more extraordinary than the pair of jaguars, Blue and Jaguar, who played with Lucia as though she were one of their own, weaving the thread of their world into hers. What magic lay ahead in a childhood shared with wild kings of the forest? Lucia's earliest memories were intertwined with the gentle weight of Blue's paw guiding her across tangled roots, a silent promise of safety beneath towering trees. She would giggle as Jaguar lunged through the undergrowth, his sleek form a blur, until he paused to tumble in the leaf litter, eliciting soft purrs that mingled with her delighted laughter. Under the canopy's dappled light, the trio discovered hidden mushrooms, examined glossy beetles, and watched sunlight dance on dew-laden leaves. With each discovery, Jaguar would tilt his head and Blue would offer a caring nuzzle, teaching Lucia that curiosity and caution could live side by side by side. In those moments, the world felt boundless, an unspoken pact that despite the chasm between species, friendship could bridge any divide. Yet even paradise hints at change just over the horizon. On Lucia's 5th birthday, Miguel presented her with a delicate silver pendant shaped like a jaguar's profile. As he knelt to fasten the necklace around her small neck, his eyes gleamed with pride. "You are the bridge between two worlds," he whispered. "The jaguars see you as one of their own, a precious gift and a great responsibility." The cool metal rested against her skin, a constant reminder of her role in the grand tapestry of life. In note, every time it swung against her chest, Lucia felt the pulse of the forest echoing in her veins and the promise of all that lay ahead. In that hush between father and daughter, a seed of purpose took root, one that would grow strong enough to withstand every test that fate would throw her way. 6 years later, autumn's crisp edge begun to nip the reserve. At 11, Lucia joined her father and a team of biologists around a long wooden table, papers strewn with notes on reintroduction protocols. The decision was made Blue and Jaguar would return to the untamed wild, each to claim territories of their own, and each to carry forward the mission her father had devoted his life to. On departure day, the air buzzed with preparation. Cushioned transport crates, final health checks, and whispered words of encouragement. Lucia clung to Blue's furred shoulder as she murmured, "You're going home, to be free where you belong." Blue replied with a gentle rub of his head against her palm, and Jaguar circled, low, purring a farewell hymn. As the trucks rumbled away, Lucia stood beneath the retreating taillights, feeling a hollow ache settle in her chest, yet knowing in her bones this was only the beginning of her own awakening. The next years unfolded like pages in a book, each filled with lectures on ecology, son ecology, labs lined with microscopes and fieldwork beneath foreign skies. Lucia absorbed every lesson, driven by a simmering flame of nostalgia that kept her heart tethered to the jaguar's shadows. In laboratories, she studied feline anatomy. In classrooms, she debated habitat fragmentation. In her dreams, she heard that familiar low purr. By 23, armed with a degree in conservation biology and steely determination, she plotted an expedition back to the reserve. The goal was as personal as it was scientific, to see if Blue and Jaguar had flourished in the jungle. That was their birthright. As she packed her gear, each passport stamp and research paper felt like a stepping stone back to where her story had begun. When Lucia and her team crossed the threshold into the Selva Maya, the green embrace of the forest washed over them, stirring memories as vivid as if they'd happened yesterday. Or, stesta. Moss hung like festive garlands from ancient branches, and the chorus of cicadas rose to greet them. Guiding them was Carlos, a local tracker whose eyes knew every route and rivulet. Documentarians and biologists fanned out behind Lucia as she inhaled the humid air, each breath a return to her first world. Collars with hidden transmitters blinked on laptops, mapping the jaguar's wanderings. Each beep of location data quickened her pulse. Nearly there. Yet beyond the science lay the unknown. Would her childhood friends remember the girl who once ran barefoot through their realm? She tightened her grip on a notebook, every sense alive with anticipation. Rain began to patter on leaves as the group followed a muddy trail, boots sucking gently at the soil. Forest's soundscape seemed magnified. A twig snapped in the distance. A toucan's call echoed like a trumpet. Unseen insects drummed the air. Carlos suddenly halted, raising a hand in silent command. The world stilled. Even the raindrops hushed. Lucia held her breath, eyes scanning the dense undergrowth for the slightest flicker of movement. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, each beat a drum of hope and dread. Cameras raised, lenses trained on the thicket ahead. Could this be the moment when myth and memory would collide? Every second stretched taut, as though the jungle itself waited with bated breath. Then it happened. A subtle sway of vines, a soft rumble that sent a shiver down Lucia's spine. From the emerald curtain emerged Jaguar, his coat a flawless mosaic of rosettes, muscle rippling beneath lithe fur. He paused, every sinew coiled, and fixed Lucia with a gaze that seared through time. Their eyes locked, and the forest around them dissolved into silence. Lucia's voice caught in her throat, but she found the words. It's me, Lucia. The tone was the same that once coaxed purrs of comfort, the same lullaby of safety. A gentle purr rumbled from Jaguar's chest, an echo from years ago. The team exhaled in unison, understanding that this fragile piece hung by a single, sacred thread. Jaguar took a silent step forward, each motion a graceful whisper on the forest floor. He pressed his head against Lucia's palm, leaving a scent-marked promise. Hand-marked promise. Tears threatened her composure, but she stayed steady, stroking the soft fur as though greeting a long-lost friend. The purrs deepened, resonating with Lucia's own thudding heart. Around them, cameras clicked softly, capturing a reunion few would ever witness. And Jaguar settled at her feet, golden eyes reflecting gratitude and perhaps the faintest spark of their shared past. In that charged moment, the predator yielded to the bond forged by childhood, laughter, tender care, and unspoken vows. In the wild, moments of grace are fleeting. Pick what new twist awaited beyond this embrace. As twilight draped the canopy in violet shadows, a second shape slipped into view. Blue, older now, but still the gentle giant who once steadied Lucia's steps. He paused, sniffed the air, then ambled to stand beside Jaguar, completing the circle of old friends reunited. Lucia watched in awed silence as they moved through the twilight forest, thriving on instincts honed by years of freedom. She recorded every gesture, every flick of tail, convinced that this living tableau was the ultimate proof of her father's dream, that humankind and wild spirits could heal together. As campfires lit the edge of the clearing, Lucia made her final notes, heart brimming with both pride and longing. With dawn's first light, she knew she would bid them farewell once more, but this time, her spirit would leave a portion of itself behind in the Jaguar's footprints. In the soft glow of early morning, Lucia knelt one last time beside Jaguar. No tears fell now, only steady conviction and a whisper of gratitude. Keep thriving, she breathed. Jaguar pressed his head to her hand one final time, a benediction of muscle and fur, then melted into the forest's green embrace. Lucia rose, carrying with her the echoes of purrs and the shape of two majestic lives intertwined with her own. Back in civilization, she would champion their story, transform images into a clarion call for conservation, and nurture the bond between people and the wild. For in witnessing that reunion, she had become more than a researcher. She had become a living bridge between worlds, determined to uphold the promise forged in friendship, perseverance, and the unbreakable spirit of the Jaguar. The Jaguar.